Chapter 10 The Fiery Chariot, First Part. Even after noticing Greylancer enter the marble dome, Verosa did not falter from the task at hand. Whenever he was engrossed in his work, the eccentric weaponsmith was prone to forget not only his master's Vesigian name, but also his severe disposition. Verosa dipped an iron ladle into a massive cauldron, and examined the molten steel contained within it. Damn it. He dipped into the cauldron again and scooped up another spoonful. This time he nodded, muttered, "Good," poured the orange liquid into a trough, and watched it ooze 10 meters into a small tank below. Well now. Satisfied, the old man removed the heat-resistant goggles from his face, and began to descend the stairs toward Greylancer. Swirls of smoke rose up from his asbestos vest and gloves. Removing his gloves, Verosa came down the flight of stairs and started at the sight of his master, standing but an arm's length away. "My lord, when did you return?" "Just now, on urgent business." "Is that so?" muttered Verosa indifferently. "Might your business be with me?" "That is why I've come. You know about the time-deceiving incense." "Why, of course. Miss Laria's idea was a stroke of pure genius, albeit the idea alone was hers. You were in possession of its formula during a period of 5 days, about 6 months ago. Did you give anyone the incense or its formula during those 5 days? Verosa blinked twice before the question registered in his mind. "Did I, you ask?" "Yes." "To anyone?" "Yes." "Miss Laria's invention?" "That's right." "On my life, no one." "Will you swear by the sacred ancestor?" "Yes, by the sacred ancestor." Then Verosa tilted his head upward in an affected manner and said, "Now, wait a minute." Seeing this, Greylancer continued, "Very well. Can you think of anyone who might have had access to the incense during the 5 days who was in your possession?" The air around them seemed to turn crimson under the glow of Greylancer's eyes. "Verosa," urged Greylancer. "I cannot say." You are aware of the penalty for your answer." "My lord, I should like to take leave of my duties. I pray there will be no error in the payment of my wages. There were 2 such errors in my 5,000 years of service, though I overlooked the slights of the past." "Fine. Go where you will. But after my business is done..." Greylancer took a step forward. Verosa reached into his coat pocket and scattered something on the floor. What it was exactly was indiscernible. A brick wall about 5 meters square burst forth from the ground and shot up between the men. Any fool can conjure a steel compression wall, but a brick wall took a bit of work. Verosa watched the wall disintegrate before his very eyes. Alas, brick is not terribly effective. "Do not fool with me, Verosa." Greylancer drew back his lance. The weaponsmith threw down another object at his master's feet. This time a stone wall shot up from the ground. The center slid open, revealing a stone corridor. "Come inside." Verosa's voice echoed from within. One swing of Greylancer's lance was capable of destroying such a contrivance. Yet the warrior remained motionless, his lance lowered at his side. Verosa was using him as a guinea pig for his latest invention. That much was clear. But Greylancer kept his temper in check, knowing that this long-time weaponsmith was burning with desperation, risking life and death at this very moment. "Enter, my lord," the voice said, more a command than a request. Greylancer's eyes glowed blood red. The noble entered the corridor, leaving behind the burning afterglow of his eyes. Verosa waited for him 10 meters ahead, a mere 10 paces away by Greylancer's gate. When he was but a step away from where Verosa stood, a stone wall shut up before him. No, it was Greylancer that had turned a corner. Yet he had experienced the sensation of walking in a straight line toward his prey. Verosa stood and waited, 10 meters ahead as before. "A maze," muttered Greylancer, seeing through the trick. If the contrivance were set at an entrance, any intruder would wander for an eternity inside an endless labyrinth. But this was no time to admire the weaponsmith's handiwork. Unleashed the might of his lance upon the rock faces on either side of him. The walls came crumbling down with one blow. Greylancer stepped over the smoky rubble and stopped before Verosa. "A decent contraption, but it suffers from your personal taste. You need only make the walls sturdier." "I'm delighted by your most tedious remarks," Verosa said, bowing slightly. When he raised his downcast eyes, the silver tip of the lance was pointed at his nose. The weaponsmith shuddered. "I cannot reveal the name, my lord. You will have to strike me dead." Greylancer muttered, "Very well," and drove the blade through the weaponsmith's throat, page break indicated by a small cross. Upon his return, Greylancer found Laria waiting for him at the mansion. "What are you doing?" he asked his younger sister. "Go get some rest. I can't help but feel something terrible is about to happen." Was it cloudy outside? "When I first arrived, yes." He knew not what the weather had to do with Laria's premonition. The calm on his collar vibrated, and a hologram of the gunner Gallagher floated up before him. Greylancer had tasked him with watching over the central government. "My lord, about 2,000 Andro soldiers have departed the capital and are headed in your direction. Are you certain?" "Yes." "Stand by." With a wave of his hand, Greylancer brought up an exterior image of the mansion. Black dots appeared in the sky lit with the first rays of dawn, grew larger, and resolved into black aircraft. The small fleet descended and landed around Hose Greylancer, equipped with magnetic propulsion systems. None of the missile-shaped aircraft needed stabilizing wings. They came prepared, armed to the teeth with nuclear missiles. "It speaks highly of your reputation, brother," Laria said, her voice free of anything but sincere admiration. Satisfied by the news of Greylancer's destruction, members of the central government and Privy Council lay awake inside their coffins and contemplated how they might appease the many supporters of the brave warrior in the capital. A bit of a pity, really. Zeus gazed at the scorched rubble and the bowl-shaped crater in the earth on the aerial screen, and emptied his glass in one gulp. The glass had contained the blood of a farmer girl who'd wandered in earlier that day. Zeus was in Mercala's, private residence in the southern frontier sector's regional capital of Salazar. I would rather have revealed the truth before sending Greylancer to his death. Alas, it was not meant to be. He will never return to this world, irradiated and banished to another dimension as he is. No, Greylancer shall not reconstitute his physical form again. From the depths of the moonlit space, a lyrical voice rang out, though its cadence was elegiac. In addition to being a warrior, there was too much of the investigator in him, I'm afraid. At the other end of the enormous table stood the ghostly figure of Duchess Margalla. A gentle wind swayed her hair, and the grass at her feet. The two overseers were in the midst of a private banquet in an illusory meadow. He threatened to uncover the truth far faster than either of us imagined. Time was ripe for Greylancer's curtain to fall. Right you are. Zeus stretched and let out a long yawn. He and Margalla had awakened from their coffins only minutes prior. 10 hours had passed since Greylancer's annihilation. Chancellor Cornelius's death was unfortunate, but the Privy Council has sent word of the next meeting with the OSP. We shall have to prepare terms, so the OSP will grant us control over the frontier. Grant? You must abandon such sodden thinking. Margalla's eyes gleamed as she fixed a long look on her companion. The OSP's reign over this planet will last for but a moment. After 1 or 2 millennia, when their power has fallen into decay, we will vanquish the enemy and regain our supremacy. To this end, waging a meaningless war that would only lead to our ruin is the height of folly. How unfortunate. How fortunate that the Privy Council is in agreement. Those greybeards look upon you as their beloved. What man can resist seeing your pale flesh, hearing you whisper your desires in their ears, and especially when those desires favor him? The dissenters among them have been banished to some distant dimension. But they too might eventually come around and fall in line with the aliens. Margalla floated next to Zeus and cupped his rugged face in her slender hands. Meeting her advance with a look of enchantment, Zeus fought back the desire to suckle her scarlet lips with every fiber of his body. Feeling her hot breath on his face only inches away, a millennium or two, even 10 millennia is but the blink of an eye. Just as his lips brushed against hers, the Duchess pulled away, like a fish carried backward by a current. Zeus stood and moved to follow, but the early luminescent figure danced around the dimly lit meadow and evaded his grasp for several minutes, until finally his outstretched fingers touched her skin. They tangled in the thick grass, letting out fevered breaths. Beneath the pale moonlight, the Duchess whispered, "O Zeus, your fangs upon my throat. Oh, the taste of your blood. Why? Human blood is warm, but why is noble blood as cold as our skin?" His breath turned to moans as Margalla sank her fangs into his neck. "Your blood soothes me like ice water. See how it runs from my mouth down to my bosom." Zeus pressed his lips against the swell of her chest, as if the world existed only for them, and began to unlace her bodice. There was a sudden snarl of steel and a flesh-rending sound. Zeus and Margalla screamed. The two writhed and tried to tear away from one another, but it was no use. Their bodies were pinned down against the illusory ground, skewered by a great lance. When the shadow came around and hulked over them, Zeus shouted, "No, noble Greylancer." First part end.